Hi there, Jen Burley of the Oregonian here with Tyson Alger, and we just watched the Civil War game. Oregon won 66-57. The Ducks got revenge after losing to Oregon State and Corvallis. It was the tale of two halves, though. Oregon played great the first half, not so great the second half, just 6 field goals in that second half, and Dana Altman wasn't too pleased even though they won.
Yeah, this was a little bit of something that we've seen lately from the Ducks. The last 5 games in a row, Oregon has taken relatively decent leads into kind of the final 5-10 minutes, and they've blown it in all 5 of those games, though they were able to kind of recoup against UCLA. This was a game Oregon absolutely needed, especially if they are going to want to make the NCAA tournament, and they played like that in the first half. They used a 14-0 run. I think Elijah Brown had 18 of his 20 points in that first half. Paul White played great, but in the second half it just went really stagnant again. And while Oregon was able to get a 9-point win, as Peyton Pritchard pointed out after the game, Altman really wasn't pleased with this team after this game. He really singled out certain players like Elijah Brown, and Paul White had one of what I thought were one of his better games of the season, and Altman said essentially he almost played good except for the 3 turnovers he had. So I think this is right now as a coach that's really trying to push this team's buttons to get them to where they need to go, because they have been playing much better basketball since that first Civil War loss, but right now sitting at 4-4 in Pac-12 play, they're still hovering in the 90s in RPI. They're going to really have to go on a run here if they do want to make another NCAA tournament.
Yeah, as you said, this win gives them a 500 record in the Pac-12. They're 14-7 overall. People are saying that they're in the conversation to make the tournament. What do you think this win did tonight?
I don't think this win specifically did much for them in terms of a plus, but it would have been an absolutely devastating loss for this team. Oregon State, while they have played well in Pac-12 play because of how they played in the non-conference schedule, they are a very poorly ranked RPI team. Oregon can't afford to have another loss to a team that's in the hundreds in RPI. So while this isn't a win that's going to all of a sudden vault Oregon into the bubble or into the tournament, it's one that certainly they couldn't afford to lose. And so I think that's the big positive you take out of this, that they still didn't play the best basketball that they have played all season, but they were able to grind out a win when they needed one. So that's a positive for sure, though I think Altman's being a little more forward-looking and thinking that, especially as they go on this Bay Area trip here, they need to play a lot better.
Yes, they're playing Cal on Thursday, Stanford on Saturday, heading down to the Bay Area. What do the Ducks need to do this weekend? I mean, we all know that Dana Altman's teams do a lot better second half of the season.
Right.
What do you expect from them this weekend?
The Oregon, essentially Dana Altman wants them to play defense. Whether you can't go into, as he said, you can't expect to go into an imposing arena and outshoot a team just because of the crowd and all those sort of things. Cal's not a great team. Stanford's going to be very hard for them to play. But if you look at today's game, in the first half, Oregon had 17 points off turnovers. Oregon State had 0. The Ducks were all over the court defensively, getting their hands on balls and all that sort of stuff. And then that just disappeared in the second. So Oregon's going to need to bring that intensity to the Bay Area, and they're going to have to be better on the boards too. Reed Travis from Stanford is an absolute animal. If anybody watched that game the Ducks played against him last year, he almost single-handedly took them out. So it's going to be tough for them on the road, but right now, if you want to take into account where they are now compared to where they were after the first Civil War game, they're in a different stratosphere, I think. But I think we're at the point right now where Altman sees the potential of this team, and that's why he's being hard on these guys, because I think he knows that there might be another gear for them to turn.
Exactly. Well, that wraps it up here from Jen and Tyson at Matthew Knight Arena, where the Ducks won the Civil War 66-57. We'll see you next time.